Join me every month for the inspiration to find your finish line. Hello, everyone. I hope you're all having a strong day today. I'm Mike Riley. Welcome to another edition of Find Your Finish Line. I hope all of your training for 2025 and the season coming up is going well. Remember to ease into it. You don't want to get early season injuries or to detour you from your training and your racing. Be smart about it. And thank you again for tuning into my podcast. The numbers always prove that I want to continue bringing you guests that can change your life, inspire you to get off your butts and get it done. And thank you again to triathlete.com for rating Find Your Finish Line as one of the top endurance podcasts of 2024. My guest today, there's a lot of things you can do when you explain people and introduce people. I'm going to start with entrepreneur, sports innovator. He's a visionary entrepreneur from Belgium with a track record of transforming bold ideas into reality. And he is the CEO of Supertri. Michael Doltz, welcome to Find Your Finish Line. So welcome again, Michael. And my first question to all my guests on Find Your Finish Line is, what kind of workout did you get in today?
Today I actually did not get a workout in, but I have an easy bike ride. Later because I'm doing a half marathon this weekend, and I had a hard run session yesterday. So it's an easy spin of the legs tonight for me.
Okay, you're forgiven for not getting a great workout in because of your half marathon. So I always like asking that question to see what everybody did at the start of their day.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be. I'm getting one in later today. That is promised. Perfect.
So you kind of took a leap of faith, Michael. You left the corporate world. You wanted to pursue a dream of competing and being a part of our great sport, triathlon.
Yeah.
And you achieved that goal. And you even started the Challenge Taiwan race, which was something right out of the box, which is fantastic. And then the concept of Supertri. Why don't you tell us about what you believe today is the most exciting thing about Supertri, which I think it's an exciting format.
Well, I mean, obviously, I'm very passionate about the sport, and I think actually the reason why of Supertri and the reason why I'm still so excited about Supertri is ultimately what brought me to the sport, and it's an inspiration of watching. I mean, at the time it was Luc van Lier, the winning Ironman Hawaii in 1996, right? So you have a professional who crosses the finish line, and there's something in common. I mean, he was from Belgium, I'm from Belgium, right? And it's kind of inspired me to do, hey, this is a great sport, what an incredible story, let's go and do that, right? And ultimately that is the core why I started together with Chris and with Leonid, we started Supertri, and we said, okay, this is a sport that has given us so much, that has basically for me since 96, I continued swimming, biking and running, remained a healthy individual, remained like fit and always training, right? And I thought, okay, what can I do in triathlon to contribute to the sport, to add to it? And it's, okay, let's create a format that is focused on that is focused on really entertaining and inspiring. And that's how we started Supertri. And yeah, it has done that over the last 6 seasons, 8 years. It's done that. And I think for us, it's kind of always moving that finish line to a certain extent, moving that barriers, continue to grow, continue to do more, continue to innovate. If a curveball is thrown at us, kind of continue to come up with an idea. How can we make something great out of that, right? And I think, I mean, I go back. Ultimately, this is a journey of any triathlete, right? I mean, you're out there racing, and curveballs come at you. You think, oh shit, I can't do it. I have to give up. This is not working. I lose my nutrition. This is happening. But you kind of, you break a boundary. You get it done. You continue to go, and yeah, that's pretty much my. That's pretty much my journey. I am passionate about it. I continue to do it, and I think, yeah, we're doing something great for the sport.
Well, Michael, the passion is in your voice. The passion is in your mannerisms. I can feel it, which I love, because I believe the way our sport is going to grow is with passionate people like yourself. when you all sat down with Chris and Leonid Bogolovsky, your partners, how did the concept of Supertri come about?
Well, first we looked at the sport as it was, and all the different things that has happened in the sport over its actually short history, right? And then we said, okay, what is missing here? And obviously, Chris, I remembered certain races that he had done in Australia, or the indoor races that back in the day Mark Allen used to win in France, etc. Right? And see, okay, all of these things. There are elements there that are fantastic, but if we now have a blank canvas, how do we pick the best of all of it, and actually consider also where we are today from a media landscape, from a let's say an audience landscape, how they engage with content, also from what people are drawn to do, right? And then considering where triathlon as a sport and what is missing, and that's how we came up with the professional format, is to say, look, it needs to be less predictable, more dynamic, right? That's a niche that is currently not filled, and ultimately in a format that creates moments where there's constant jeopardy, there's constantly something happening, and it's ever changing, right? I mean, to get like you have the TikTok generations now, people are flipping through stuff, right? So I mean, I wanted to make sure it is exciting. It still has big elements of endurance, but it changes often, right? So for us, a swim will not be more than 5 minutes. The bike will be 5-6 minutes. Then it's run again 5-6 minutes. Then it's swim again 5-6 minutes. But if you piece it all together, it is definitely an endurance sport, but it is very, very different, right? So we were really looking at it from a blank canvas, considering an audience, and say, let's focus on the audience and deliver them something that is truly entertaining, truly dynamic, and unpredictable, right? That was the beginning.
Well, you know, every time I watch Supertri, Michael, I cannot sit down. I got to do it standing up. I mean, it's almost like it's scary. You got a 200-meter swim, the 4K bike, the 1K run, repetition over and over again. And I do remember the events back in Australia, and was even trying to be a part of them, putting them together here in the U.S. And they are dynamic. They epitomize what in triathlon a spectator sport is all about. Was that also your goal, to be able to have people be so excited about it and be ingrained in it, but it doesn't last forever?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, our vision statement is to say we inspire the competitor and everyone. And I'm talking to our broadcast partners, and I'm saying, look, I want the people who watch it, basically their heart rate has to go up a little bit. Like you say, I can't be seated down. I need to stand up. I need to do something, because you're getting engaged. You're getting competitive fluids start flowing, right? So definitely that is 100% what we set out to achieve.
Well, tell us about the Supertri E World Triathlon Championships coming up in London on April 5th. How did that come about? Because that's with your association with World Triathlon, isn't it?
Yeah. So that's a very interesting story. I think ultimately we were ramping up with Supertri, and then COVID hit, right? So ultimately I was talking to my business partners, and what do we do now? We have to be social distancing, etc. What do we do now, right? And being entrepreneurs, being creative, we said, look, ultimately there's the option of hibernating is not for us, right? We need to continue to go. We need to innovate, and we said, okay, how can we deliver a triathlon in a socially distanced form, but that still has a future beyond the sport, right? And then ultimately thinking, okay, let's use technology, because with technology, not only are we able to kind of create Supertri E, but also it is that next frontier to make the sport accessible. Because if you look at Supertri E, ultimately, you're not dependent on weather anymore. You're not dependent on road infrastructure, road closures, etc. All things, or you're also not dependent on people having good bike handling skills, etc. So we looked at it both ways. We looked at it, okay, here's an opportunity to continue to organize events during COVID, which was one thing, but the other thing is also, okay, it is aligned with this whole esports, making sports more accessible. We're leveraging technology to make it more accessible, whether it's from weather or skill, right? So we were very passionate about it and thought, okay, here we're able to innovate, curveball thrown through COVID, but something that really can stand the test of time and is actually really aligned with another potential future for the sport, right? And World Triathlon aligned with that idea. I mean, obviously the IOC is aligned with that idea. They had their esports vision. They now announced the E-Olympics for 2027, right? And that kind of made us the perfect match with World Triathlon to say how do we grow that? And I think we've done 12 events since then. And the next event is coming up. It's very different. It's very different. I think ultimately the access to data you get from these events, because you see everything. You see power, cadence, heart rate. You see all the data comes forward. You can actually really zoom in on people and the pain phases. I mean, technically, it's obviously not as challenging. You're not zooming around the courses, but it's pure power, right? It's pure speed and pure power. And the athletes are digging really, really deep, and you get all that data coming up and seeing it. And I mean, in London, the last 3 years we've filled the stadium. So suddenly you have 2,000-3,000 people in a packed stadium cheering on. So it's a very, very unique experience. And I think, it's only at its infancy now, getting this credibility of becoming part of this Olympic esports pathway. It's only at its infancy, and ultimately, I believe we'll see great things and different things with this format in the future.
I don't know if you're like me, Michael, but when I watch and I'm seeing all the numbers and the cadence and the watts and everything, I'm going, oh my gosh, I'm so out of shape. I cannot believe it. Because these numbers are almost ridiculous. You go, how can he be pushing that many watts? What's going on here? Yeah. And that's what I love about it too, because it really shows you the whole aspect of it, which is fantastic. You know, you've said
Lionel Sanders Lionel Sanders was the watt master. What he did in Montreal a few years ago, it was just crazy.
It absolutely was. Well, you've said, Supertri has been a rebrand, and it's a much needed evolution in the sport of triathlon. Why do you believe it is a much needed evolution in the sport?
Well, I think for us the rebrand has come with is actually a story of growth, right? So we come with Super League Triathlon, so a league for professional triathletes to kind of showcase themselves. It was audience focused, and ultimately, we've seen our numbers grow, our followers audience grow. We pivoted with Supertri E, and then it's ultimately, okay, how do we? I mean, we've created this whole audience. How do we now? What's the next step, right? And for me, we're saying we're going from probably what you traditionally would call a rights holder to become now a community, and that is the evolution. It's kind of, okay, let's leverage this inspiration, this aspiration we've built, and now let's give it back to the community of triathletes, and actually, and that's where mass participation comes into play, right? So with the rebrand, for me, it's really a repositioning from being a professional racing series to being a community, and that community is focused back on the basics, right? We want to inspire the competitor in everyone, right? And actually open up, and I want to have people who watch this, they think, okay, that looks fantastic, that looks exciting, I want to do a triathlon, right? And then give the first step. So with the triathlons we have, and I think Chicago is always my favorite example there. It's 8,000 people. It's amazing. You have 1,000 kids, a race with 1,000 kids participating. Then you have a divvy bike division where basically people who don't have the city bikes are available to jump on, and actually people don't have to bring their own bike. But then the day afterwards, you actually have a really competitive age group race, right? And I think that's what we kind of want to stand for. And I think there's an opportunity to do that with short course triathlon. I'm talking sprint, Olympic, super sprint, and make it accessible to a wider group of people and bring them into the sport, right? And then I'd like everybody, and I think if we come together as a sport and we create that ecosystem where you can do short, long, but you're involved as a triathlete and you remain into the triathlon community, that is the opportunity.
Well, as you mentioned, Michael, accessibility is the key. And in a minute, we'll talk about Chicago, Long Beach, and your new events in Texas. But talk to us about the next gen, the future of triathlon, which you believe will help champion the growth of triathlon. How'd you
Yeah.
come up with that?
Well, I think it's ultimately about breaking boundaries, right? I mean, and that's like if I look at what Supertri has been doing and what has driven me from the beginning, right? This is breaking down boundaries, and then actually. You break down a boundary and you create an experience, or you create something that inspires people, and that inspires them to take an action, right? So and what we're doing with the Next Gen campaign is to look at other people who are breaking down boundaries, right? And we know our sport. We want to be more diverse. We want to bring more young people into the sport. So I like to highlight that stories, right? Because if I look at the sport and let's say I see other young people competing in it, I'm like, if he does it, I can do it, right? And that's the dynamic we are going with this next generation, and then ultimately creating the pathways, right? So our events in Long Beach or in Chicago, we have first-timer programs that are free of charge. We bring more people in. We want to focus on the relay format, bring more people in, right, and give them great experiences. Because, yeah, I think there's a lot of people who look at triathlon and think, whoa, that is stuff. At some point, maybe they sign up, right? And then I want to make sure that once they sign up, from there on, it is a great experience to the start line first and then to the finish line, right? And if that's been a great experience, I'm pretty sure they're hooked, right? And they keep coming back, right? So, and we want to highlight those stories and then give people the tools to get there.
Yeah, and you've got some strong tools, and your portfolio of events, as you mentioned, Long Beach, the Long Beach Legacy Triathlon, and Long Beach, California. You've got the Chicago Triathlon, which, by the way, I announced that event, I think, the first 15 years, and it still is amazing to me today how many would show up. I'd look across the transition and go, I don't think there's this many bikes in Chicago. Look at this. It's just crazy. So you've got the Chicago Triathlon, and then Toulouse, France. But you've added a couple to your portfolio, a couple triathlons which are iconic. The Austin Captex Triathlon in Austin, Texas. And you also added the, what was the other one? Oh, yeah, the Kerrville Triathlon north of San Antonio. Why did you bring those two well-established events into your portfolio?
Well, I mean, ultimately, and we actually, by the time this podcast goes live, we will also have added Toronto to the portfolio. So we're continuously growing our portfolio, and my focus is on urban triathlons, right? So triathlons that can really become tentpole events for the communities, right? And ultimately, I think by us bringing together a group of tentpole urban triathlons across key regions, right? We can actually bring people together and inspire more people to become active. And I think, for me, city triathlons create a very specific experience, are more attractive to new people into the sport, right? So and that's where we position ourselves, and I think that's an exciting positioning because it's complementary to a grassroots triathlon, and if we are able to take those experiences, uplift them, and inspire people, we're doing the right thing.
With established triathlons like that, Michael, where they're getting the participants, it's got a good reputation in the community. Is there anything you feel that you can add to enhance the experience for the participants?
That is 100% our what we want to do is ultimately we want to build out a wider network of events, and not just one or two in the US, but let's go after quite a few, so that it really becomes a movement, and then indeed deliver quality across all of those events. All of those events, or many of the events we're looking at, are well established, but I think we can drive more purpose to it. We can drive more motivation, more experience to it, to kind of uplift that experience just that little bit. And actually, for one thing very important to me is make them even more accessible, right? Because a lot of those events are built out of the triathlon community, are deeply ingrained into the triathlon community, but it is how do we make the access to that triathlon community easier? And I think that's where we can also still contribute quite a lot. And again, for me, a lot of that then goes back to the inspiration, right? And my own little journey of seeing Luc van Lier doing that. I mean, that's what I want to see, right? I want to see people aspire to do that and have kids grow up and say, I want to be a triathlete, right? That is, I think, that is just fantastic.
Isn't that amazing how time flies when you mentioned Luke a couple times. I think back and that day is still in my head because it was such an incredible performance. And my gosh, it was what, 91? It was so long ago.
Yeah.
But yet it's still in our heads, inspiring us today. I love that about our sport.
Yeah.
Michael, how do you and your team, because Supertri, the events with the pros on the short distance and racing over and over again, the venue has to be kind of perfect for you, doesn't it? How do you choose those venues for Supertri?
Yeah, I mean, I guess our venues are ultimately, because we raise a very small, very skilled group of athletes. We can go out. We can be quite ambitious with our courses, quite technical, quite daring, right? And so there is that benefit. We also typically create an amazing atmosphere because as a spectator you'll see somebody come by every 90 seconds, right? That's because it's really it goes really quick. But yes, of course, we need water and we need roads, and they need to be very close to each other, right? So it is a very specific setup. But I have a great team. We've always been able to make it work, and we've created some amazing, very tricky and very colorful venues. So, it's good.
Yeah,
it's great.
Tricky is the major word because some of the course I go, I don't know if I could ride that slow. And they're coming around some of these corners and these hairpin corners. And I go, how are they staying up on the bike? It's it's very exciting. Well, Michael, what do you consider a successful event?
That's a very good question. I mean, I would say, look, from there's two sides of this, right? One is a professional event. As I said, for me it goes back to I want people to be excited. So a successful event for me is there is the right balance of drama in the races, but the pros still coming away and thinking, what was that, right? And look, we had events where a crash happened. We had events where we DQ'd people because they made mistakes, right? But afterwards, we're still looking at it and like, wow. I mean, this was actually great. All the dynamics which happened here, right? And the emotions are very positive. I'd like also events where there's a lot of crowds. We have that event in Toulouse. There's tens of thousands of people. Like the whole course. It's lines deep. So that is obviously that adds fantastic to it. And then we care about media. So look, if the broadcast goes fine, we had in the beginning we had stories where suddenly. Power outage and the broadcast goes down, etc. So there's all these different elements of stress happening. But for me, still a major indicator is afterwards I talked to some of our pro athletes who are racing and who said, "Oh damn, this was fantastic! This was crazy, right?" If they are emotional about it, I think that is what is big. And then if you look at the mass participation events, I mean. I go back to Chicago. Last year I was standing at the finish line in Chicago. I mean, I was standing at the start first and then at the finish line, right? And at the start I was mingling with a couple of people and you hear all these stories like, okay, I've heard this and I'm planning this and I'm doing this and I'm thinking maybe PB or I want to try this and like all these people are talking about how they see their race develop. And if you then stand at the finish line and everything you hear is people being exciting and talking about to their families about how great they've been or how great this was or how they had to push to a certain boundary, etc. I mean, those stories where people cross the finish line and they're just proud of their own performance. They have something to talk about and they want to share it with the family and with other people who just finished that race. I mean, that for me is a great event.
Yeah, you've got to be. It's a lot of gratification because I've always said, the finish line changes lives, and you're changing a lot of lives, Michael. So that good for you. What you know, you have something unique in our sport. There's no doubt about it. The venues, the racing for both pros and age groupers. Because of that, how do you look at your competition?
Yeah. Well, I mean, ultimately, if I look at, I think, I mean, how do I look at our competition?
Everybody's in the same boat. So we're trying to draw, participants. So how do you look at your competition? Are they an advantage for you, a disadvantage? How does that work?
I mean, I've been a big, look, I think, if you look at macro trends, right? I was doing a bit of research in recent months. Participation sport as a whole, which is obviously very big, is trending to grow quite a lot over the next few years, right? I think it's 6% a year in average across all participation sport, right? So I think generally there's a lot of opportunities around there for the whole of sport of triathlon to grow, and I think it's a unique opportunity now because there's good investment going into the sport. We actually have a sport that I think is in the Olympics, but has already solid foundations, and is actually now also supported by macro trends because participation sports are trending to grow. And I think if we can come together and get the message of triathlon and why triathlon is cool and make it cool again or cooler again, right? I think there is a great opportunity. In terms of competition, I mean, I think we have the luxury to be focused on sprint, super sprint, Olympic distance racing. On the mass participation side, there is not much competition. Most of the brands who look at consolidating portfolios internationally are playing in middle distance or long distance, right? And also on the short and the professional racing, there's also not too much competition for us, right? So I think we are in a little bit of a good position there. But generally, I think if I look at the numbers, I think there is huge growth potential for everybody. And I think one thing that we have to kind of look at is a joint narrative on what is good about this sport, right? And making it and actually making it understandable and cool to people in the periphery, because running is booming, and everybody knows if running booms, then next there's an opportunity for triathlon to boom, right? But this time around, if you compare to 2013-14 or something, there is more competition because we have high roxes now, CrossFit, all these other sports, right? So there's a bit more competition, and if we collaborate and tell clear narratives, create our heroes, create good stories, I do think, there is exciting times ahead for the sport.
I love your analogy, joint narrative. Good for you, because it is it's put very well in just 2 words, and I think that is what is going to be an advantage for our sport to grow. Yeah. What do you think triathlon, besides that, what do you think triathlon can do better today? What would you like to see? I wish this would what can triathlon do to do better?
I mean, again, I think joining up is a big thing, right? For me, I like the more I think about it is as if I'm a triathlete. I mean, I'm a triathlete. I'll probably do 7-8 races this year, right? And look, I race across everything because I want to have the experiences, right? So I think as I would like to challenge us all as organizations to come together and kind of, I always say, look, if you fly an airplane quite often, you're part of Miles and More program or something, right? And with that Miles and More program, I can fly different airlines and still benefit, right? Why don't we create a community for triathlon where you can benefit from different brands, but you can race with different brands, but actually me as part of that community, I'm empowered and I'm loyal to this community, and as the big brands, we kind of come together and offer that. I think that would be I think something like this would be a great move, and I think something like this can really set us up for the future, because people will join this community and they will stay in it, and they might be do a bit more of this, a bit more of that. They will ping pong. They will go through their own life. I have 3 kids, right? You go through life. You sometimes don't have time to train that much. Sometimes you think, oh, like I want to really be ambitious this year, and I'll set myself a bigger goal. But you want to be part of that community, and I think once you lose touch with the community, it's so much harder to attract them back in. So I think, like if you ask me what can we do better, I think is, as a whole, create that community, create the pathways into it, and then keep people there and keep offering them value, keep them engaged, offer them whatever they need, right? I mean, like if you're going through something because you had an injury that year, or you have a big thing in work with a promotion or something, and you lose touch with triathlon, I'm afraid it's going to be very hard to bring them back in. If we can create a community where we stay in touch, we keep building on swimming, biking, and running, that is the future.
It is always a goal of every event director that I talk to. And by the way, I respect event directors, race directors more than anybody in the land, because I see what the men and women go through to put on events. I always say, parents, never let your kids grow up to be an event director, because my God, there's so much involved, and so many things can go right, but so many things cannot go right, and they're kind of out of your control. But in the next 2 to 5 years, how much do you see your company growing? I mean, are you going to add 5 events, 10 events, 15 events? Because sometimes, the infrastructure of the company that you have is just so big. How well do you see yourself growing next 2 to 5 years?
Well, I am ambitious. I am a triathlete. I am ambitious. So I want to grow. I think. I think mass participation is an important topic. I think for us as a brand to have an impact on mass participation, 6 events is definitely only a beginning, right? And I need to say to that, I mean, for me, the world is not flat. I don't think. I mean, we need. I want to tackle region by region or country by country, right? So for me, I think there's a massive opportunity now in the US. LA 28 coming up, triathlon being an Olympic sport, right? I think there's an opportunity here for short course triathlon to really be noticed, right? So I want to capitalize on that opportunity, and therefore, acquiring more events, getting more Supertri professional events in the US is very high on the agenda. And then again, for me, it's the same thing as. In Europe, 1 or 2 events is not enough. There needs to be a number of events so we can actually touch the lives of every triathlete more than once a year, right? So I am ambitious in growth, and if I say that both on the mass participation and on the pro side, although the reality is we're probably already more established on the pro side. So a lot of effort will go into the mass participation side in the next few years.
Good for you. So you talked about racing and still racing, Michael. Do you race in any of your events?
Yes, I do actually. I mean, like last year. I mean, last year was the first year we did Long Beach. So I went and raced Long Beach, and I did the race course, and and afterwards I said, look, guys, we need to change the bike loop, right? There's something better that we can do, right? So that is important. I mentioned the acquisition of Toronto, which we will announce next Tuesday, right? I went and do that event last year, see how it goes, and thought, okay, this is a very unique experience. We can do something with that. So I do believe that I'm a product guy, right? I like to know the feel of the event, the feel of the product, and understand it and have it experienced firsthand. So I'm planning to do a lot of our own races, and I continue to race some of the Ironman races and other people's races, right? So I'm definitely remain active and do all of it.
Good for you. Well, my final question on Find Your Finish Line, and thanks again for being on the show. It comes out of table racing. Table racing is when the drivers from the Baja 1000 here in below Southern California after they race 1,000 miles through terrible terrain, they get together and they reminisce about the race. They call it table racing. I call this tri-table racing. Reminisce with us, whatever comes to your mind, about an event you did or something that happened during that event. What is that?
Well, I mean, yeah, I think for me it then goes back always to the way where I qualified for Kona, I must say, right, which was in Ironman Korea many moons ago, so 2010, and yeah, I mean, I was very keen to qualify, but yeah, and it was a very, very hot day, right? So the whole thing was the whole thing of, okay, how does the racing develop? How do I get to where I want to go, and kind of deal with the heat, not accelerate, play the other people in the race, etc. Play my competitors. I knew exactly who else was there. So I mean, I think that is. Like the experiences of an athlete as an age group athletes to kind of race and be very be competitive in it, and thinking through how far can I push myself, how do I interact with the other athletes. I think that is always very exciting. That is always what drives me, and ultimately I recognize a lot of that in business too, right? As you kind of think, okay, where is my own plan? Where do I sit? How do I cater to my strengths and weaknesses, right? And how do I find alliances? And how do I play all of that out, right? So I think that's very exciting.
and it is. The correlation between business and triathlon is so similar because you can't fake it. If you fake in business, you're going to fail. If you fake it in a triathlon, you're not going to finish. It is so similar that way. Amazing. Michael, what advice would you give to the age groupers out there who are thinking about triathlon? Maybe they've seen your race and go, oh, maybe I'll try it. What advice would you give to them?
Yeah, I think for me, it is. I mean, it's. I mean, I know we're talking about finish line, but for me the start line is also very important, because once you sign up, right, I think it is very important to kind of get to the start line, and in that process of getting to the start line, right, it's reach out to the community, get in touch with the people around you, make sure that they keep you motivated and keep doing things, and even if you missed a few sessions or you missed a few things, and you only have a half an hour here, right, just kind of. And you think, oh shit, I actually had a 2-hour session or an hour session, I only have a half an hour. Get it done anyway, right? Because all the little things count and all the little things accumulate. And if you kind of create a system for yourself where you leverage every half an hour, every 20 minutes, everything, and you leverage your community and stay in touch with your community, go out to the events they have, go out to the training sessions, even if it's been a full day or something. I think it always helps. I find myself even making excuses to myself sometimes. I only have an hour now. It's not worth to go for a run, and I'll still go for a run, and I'd rather apologize in my next meeting to sit there sweaty, right, and say, look, sorry, I'm sweaty, just went for a little run, but I feel like this little run has done so much for me, because I'm thinking fresh. I cleared my mind. Actually, the people find it okay that you sit there sweaty these days, and you're staying in the gauge. You're staying in the game. I think that is important. Get it done. Get it done.
You're right, Michael, because I don't think I've seen people scared at the start line. I've seen them apprehensive, but I've never seen them unhappy. And that's the same for a finish line. I've seen them joyous but not unhappy. So if you are out there, age group who's thinking about it, just get started one step in front of the other and watch what happens to your life. Michael, you've been an amazing guest. It's been my honor having you on. I wish you and Chris and your entire team nothing but success throughout all of 2025. And that Toulouse race really interests me. I think I'd love to come over there and see that baby, because it'd be something else.
We'll get you there, Mike. We'll get you there.
Okay. Well, thanks again, Michael, for your time. Michael Dolst, the CEO, co-founder of Supertri. We can't wait to see what happens with all your races this year. Thanks again.
Thank you, Mike. It's a pleasure to be here.
You got it.